Hello, President Trump, and greetings from Oklahoma. My name is Paula Yockel. I'm a mom and founder of the nonprofit Mission 503. And Mr. President, if I may, I need to talk to you about a federal rule that is betraying all of us and harming our great nation. 40 CFR Part 503, administered by the EPA, is in direct conflict with making America great again and making America healthy again. The 503 rule is spreading massive volumes of toxic chemicals and human pathogens into our communities, harming our people with illness and loss of freedoms, polluting our air, water, soil, and food supply, and compromising our national security. I'd like to show you a brief video we filmed to demonstrate the situation we face nationwide. Mr. President, have you ever seen what we do with the waste from our city sewers? Comprised of industrial and manufacturing waste, medical waste, diseased human feces and body fluids, drugs, hormones, solvents, forever chemicals, and countless other pollutants in our city's waste streams. What you are watching is the 503 rule at work. After hazardous waste makes its way through the sewer plant, where it's treated yet remains highly toxic and pathogenic, the vast majority of our nation's sewer sludge is put back into our soils in a variety of ways, and most of that is dumped on farmland, at large commercial growers, and in rural communities like you see here, where crops are grown, beef and dairy cattle are grazed, next door to homes and schools, small businesses and playgrounds. This has been happening across the U.S. for decades, and pretty much no one knows we do this. Certainly not our public health officials, doctors, or medical researchers. It's hard to describe what it's like living near this. When the trucks are done in this pasture, it will be totally covered. The toxic gases, vapors, and pathogens emitting from this sludge, and the stench and flies will travel for miles. These families, the precious souls in the little nursing home in the background, are now subject to breathing chemical and biological hazards for years. Their air, the dust on their countertops, their groundwater polluted, and the various foods that are grown and grazed on sewer sludge are integrated into our nation's food supply without disclosure. My husband and I tested the sludge and the sludged environment extensively for about 6 years. We tested air, water, soil, surfaces, clinical tissue, and many other matrices, sometimes working with top researchers in our nation. And these are facts. Land-applied sewer sludge that is compliant with the 503 rule is exposing Americans to pathogens like staph and strep, viruses, human parasites, and antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and to carcinogens like dioxin, benzenes, and PFAS, neurotoxins like lead, mercury, and flame retardants, gender disruptors like PCBs and phthalates, and immune disruptors, as well as other emerging contaminants and particulates of great concern, and exponentially more. For the sake of time of this message to you, though, I want to show you just 2 things. The dots on this map demonstrate how the 503 rule works. A cluster of sites in a rural community, where you see the dots, gets hundreds of thousands of tons of sewer sludge dumped on their farmland repeatedly for decades, creating chronic exposure to all the pollutants I just listed and infinitely more. My family knows what this is like because we lived in this particular community for many years and suffered the consequences. Then please take a look at this. This graph shows you the relative risk of disease in that community versus the state of Oklahoma using publicly available hospital discharge data. In the yellow column, every black dot is a diagnosis in the community with a statistically significant increased relative risk as compared to the state, which is the blue column. Please note the gray dots are not statistically significant. For the studied time period, and we lived there then when they were dumping daily and had been for well over 30 years, the community shows over 125 diagnoses with a statistically significant increased risk compared to the state, including acute and chronic illness, like infections, cancers, lung and heart disease, mental health and cognitive disorders, GI disorders, even birth defects, and many, many others, including rare diseases that can't be graphed. My family was fortunate to participate in several DNA studies during our research. One shows a clear link between the sludge and a life-threatening reportable infectious disease I'd contracted at our home. It's considered a sewage indicator illness. But Mr. President, I can't prove cause and effect for every individual in the community. But what I can do is show you what they've been exposed to at the hands of this rule, how they were exposed, for how long, and the known illnesses associated with those exposures. Then let's come back and look at this graph again. And the illnesses make horrific sense. More than double the risk for myeloid leukemia, and more than 7 times the risk for bone cancer. Both make perfect sense when you are repeatedly breathing benzene that is being dumped into your community. And we've been doing this across our nation for decades, and still are today. Mr. President, we have a problem worth solving, and a national wastewater infrastructure problem worth solving. And there are so many other critical aspects of this you need to know about also, like our farmers. Their lands and livelihoods are being destroyed because this rule allows sewage to be marketed as biosolids, and they're told it's cheap and beneficial fertilizer. Our beautiful countryside and forests, natural waters and aquifers, our wildlife, polluted beyond repair. And whether you're an unsuspecting buyer of this toxic farmland or unknowingly buying a home in a sludge community, there is no disclosure required in real estate transactions. And our food? The American people have no idea some of the food they're eating is being grown or grazed on toxic sewer sludge. And we don't even know which fruits and vegetables, beef, dairy, and grains are affected. Any food tainted by forever chemicals is problematic for our entire nation. And Mr. President, I will only speak to you privately about the risk to our national security, but it is significant and we need to talk about it. And there is another highly impacted group here. The 503 rule, candidly, is fake science. Hazardous waste cannot become fertilizer by the stroke of a pen. Since the time it was promulgated in '93, real researchers who dare to study and speak of the risks are targeted. Even concerned wastewater engineers know to stay silent. Our gold standard research labs, scientists, geniuses, like those who I've worked with, need to be protected in order for the truth to come out. President Trump, harmed citizens have been fighting this since the day it began, and they lose because every level of authority says they're just following the federal rule and it costs too much to fix it. And those who do see some success in their fight, the solutions are limited and it's always the same thing. Dump it in the landfill or take it to the next county. Those are not solutions. We'd like to come talk to you about our proposal for real solutions where we are no longer dumping our nation's sewage back into our lives. If we care about this, it can be done. It is complex, it requires innovation, and yes, there will be cost. But our many years of study have shown the American people are already paying a cost far greater than any dollar amount needed to fix this. Mr. President, the 503 rule is harming Americans. It is not a policy of the people. It is absent of common sense. The facts show it is the bureaucratic, administrative failure of all failures, a total and utter betrayal of the American people. The concepts of making America healthy again and dumping our sewage into our lives are wholly incompatible. We can't have both. We have to choose one. And we want to help you and Secretary Kennedy make America healthy again. President Trump, we are respectfully requesting the great honor to come to the People's House and talk with you about facts and solutions. We can assemble the best of the best collaborative team to solve this problem. But it starts with you. No other president has had the courage to stand up and protect the people from this harmful and deceptive rule. And we are asking for your help. You just say the word and we're there. Our prayer is that God will deliver our nation from this wretched rule and that He will continue to guide and protect you. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you soon.